What's going on, everyone? So one of the signings that the Lakers had was Jaxson Hayes. And I actually think it has the potential to really have the sneaky, underrated value signing that the Lakers got. This is a guy that, is 7 foot, 7'4" wingspan. He's got good hands, good size, 220 pounds. So he's not going to get pushed around. He's very young at 23 years old. A lot of upside, a lot of promise. He is one of the better pick and roll defensive big men in the league. Now, stats wise, he's not going to just jump out of the page on you. This is a guy that is basically 7.5 points, 4 rebound per game type player. But this is a guy that averages just under a block and just under a steal. And again, is a very good pick and roll defensive big man. But a lot of it has just been about the opportunity and potential. Like, what is his role? Right? The most he played for the Pelicans was not last year, but the previous year, in which he played 70 games. He only started in 28, which is the most he's ever started for the team. But he gave them 9 points and 4.5 rebounds, just under an assist, just under a steal, and just under a block, right? So this is a guy that, again, he can do a little bit of everything if given the opportunity and given the role. Now, the Lakers have talked about potentially exploring the possibility of starting him and Anthony Davis together. I don't think that they're going to do that heavily, but I could see that being something that they do from time to time. I also think that Jaxson Hayes is very likely going to get a lot of opportunity on this Lakers roster. He, at the moment, outside of Anthony Davis, is the only other real center that the Lakers have. So he's probably going to get a ton of minutes in the backup role and starting and, having AD play the 4 alongside Hayes, even if Hayes doesn't start, right? You could still see those two playing side by side for minutes a game. So I could easily see Jaxson Hayes getting you around, 20 to maybe 25 minutes a game and giving you anywhere from 10 to 12, maybe 15 a game, because you got to keep in mind that one thing that the Lakers have that the Pelicans didn't have is the playmakers and guys that are really good in the pick and roll. Like D'Lo is a good pick and roll point guard. Austin Reeves can thrive in that role, and the Lakers really want to give him the opportunity to do so. So Jaxson Hayes, yes, he's not a guy that you can run pick and pops with and do all this like fancy stuff offensively, but he is really good as a guy you can dump the ball down to, and he shoots like 71% on that little floater hook that he does. So he's a guy that you could just have him establish position, dump it down to him, just let him go over the top and put the ball in the hoop. He's also a guy you could put in the dunker spot and run all those reads and let the defense collapse and just lob it up and let him use his size, length, and athleticism to go up and grab it and dunk it home. Anthony Davis is a great passer for a big man, so he's a guy that can work well alongside of Jaxson Hayes. I think Jaxson Hayes is going to get a lot of just offensive opportunity as just being the role man and just being put in the dunker spot. And it's just going to be up to him to making sure that he finishes, even maybe some cuts and stuff like that, right? Like, you can run a lot of sets to really make Jaxson Hayes thrives. The only way I don't see Jaxson Hayes getting a real prominent role or a bigger role than what he got with the Pelicans is if the Lakers do sign Christian Wood, or if they get another real big man that they like, right? Like, even if they get like a Bismack Biyombo, I still think that they'll favor Hayes over Biz just because Jaxson Hayes is at least a real 7-footer. He's 6'11", 7 feet, where Biz is only 6'11", but he has like a ridiculous wingspan. He's like a 7'4" wingspan or something like that, and is a good shot blocker and a veteran guy. But I think even if they did get somebody like that, I do think Hayes would get more of the favorable treatment over him. But if they get a guy like Christian Wood, how much does Jaxson Hayes play at that point, right? Because they'll probably run Wood at the 5. They'll probably run Wood at the 4. I'm not saying that Jaxson Hayes won't play at all, but I think him going from 20 to 25 minutes a game, I think all of a sudden dwindles down to maybe 12 to 15 minutes a game. And that could be the difference between him giving you, 12 to 15 or him giving you 5 to 7, right? So I'm curious to see what the game plan would be if the Lakers were to get a Christian Wood, right? Do they still look at Jaxson Hayes as okay, he is the center, right? We're still going to run him primarily as the backup center, right? So we'll run AD and Wood together, and then whenever outside of like the starting unit, it'll always be Hayes and Wood, or Hayes and Davis, and then to close the game, they'll go, Wood and AD or something like that, right? Like, I'm curious to see how they approach that. But unless they get Christian Wood, I do believe Jaxson Hayes will be okay. I do think he will be safe, and I do think he's going to play a bigger role. And that's one of the things that and one of the big reasons he wanted to sign with the Lakers, because he was going to be given the opportunity. And the one position out of like all of them that needs somebody of Jaxson Hayes' ability is the position Jaxson Hayes plays, which is the center spot. So I do think he's going to thrive and have success, because he's going to have so much attention drawn away from him in a LeBron James, in an Anthony Davis, in a D'Angelo Russell, in a Rui Hachimura, in an Austin Reeves, right? So he's going to be able to just kind of be an afterthought and gobble up rebounds, and get putbacks and be a lob threat, be a roll man. But they got to put him in position to have success. If they just kind of have him out there just kind of floating around, and he's just kind of out there just to be a big body and not really providing much else, then you're probably not going to have the success that you want to have from Jaxson Hayes, right? But if you're actually keeping him engaged and you're keeping him involved in the offense, and you're constantly having him, just be in different spots and not just staying stagnant in one area or being out on the perimeter or whatever, and you're having him be a guy that's like, oh no, like, we want you to be in a position to where we can funnel you the ball at times and give you success. I'm not saying you're running your offense through the guy. I'm not saying, you're every other possession he's touching the ball or anything like that. No, it will be very limited, but I do think that he's going to have real opportunity, right? Like, he's a guy that you can just throw the ball up. D'Lo, Reeves, Rui, LeBron, all of them, right? Gabe Vincent, they can just get in the lane, get to the point, have Jaxson Hayes on a back door, lob it up, and boom, you get 2 points, right? If the offense is getting a little stagnant, things aren't really going well, put Jaxson Hayes on the block, let him establish position, dump it down to Hayes, and let him go over the top. He's like 70% in that regard. Why wouldn't you allow him to do that? He doesn't have this like vast offensive game. So he's not a guy that, you're going to be able to just trust on the offensive end and just, give the ball on a regular occurrence, right? He is mostly just like dunks and putbacks and, like I said, little dump offs, right? Those kind of things. But that's fine. You need guys like that. There's nothing wrong with that. You have your versatile, do everything big man in Anthony Davis. What's wrong with having a guy in Jaxson Hayes that is really good at defending the pick and roll, is really good at just being a big body and moving his legs and moving his feet and being disciplined, right? Like, he provides size, he provides defense, he provides that threat that teams are going to have to worry about of like, we have to keep an eye on him because he's got the size, length, and athleticism. Right? Like, and one of the big things of Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee when they were on the Lakers was that lob threat. Because you had Kyle Kuzma, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Alex Caruso, Rajon Rondo, right? You had all these guys that could get and create their own shot and get into the lane and penetrate. And you just had Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee just making cuts and just being ready for the lob and being in the dunker spot. And all of a sudden, it's just like they're getting 3, 4, 5 dunks a game. That's what I think Jaxson Hayes will be. I think he'll get, like I said, 8 to 12 points per game on just being an afterthought and just catching lobs and dunking or being a running big man, right? Lakers like to run. They like to get out in transition. I imagine they're still going to be up there in pace, right? Because they were even after Russ left, right? So my guess is that they push the ball, they run and gun down the court. If he chases and trails, he's going to get a lot of opportunity in that regard. They're going to be able to run the pick and roll with him and allow him to use his athleticism to go and get the ball and put it in the basket. You could do some dump offs. You could put him in the dunker spot. Like, there's a lot that you could use Jaxson Hayes in a versatile offensive as a versatile offensive threat, right? It's just, will they utilize him? Will they capitalize on it? I'm excited to see what does Hayes and Anthony Davis look like together. Do they work well together, right? Are they able to play off of each other? Can you dump the ball to Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis now draws Jaxson Hayes' man on a double team because they're worried about Anthony Davis just killing him, and he's just throwing it up to Jaxson Hayes, and Jaxson Hayes is just hammering it home, right? Like, these are all things that I really do think can work well for the Lakers. And I do think Jaxson Hayes is going to get a lot of opportunity. Really do. And you know Anthony Davis is going to miss probably 20 to 30 games. And so all of those games, Jaxson Hayes probably starts. So Jaxson Hayes is going to get opportunity to start. He's probably going to start 15 to 20 games this year, at least, I think. And I think he's probably going to get around maybe 20 minutes a game. And if he can stay engaged, he can stay focused, he can stay disciplined, and he can play the part that is asked of him, I really do think he's going to have a lot of success. I think he's going to be one of the guys that Lakers are going to have a hard time keeping next year. I really do. Because I think he's going to play good enough to earn a contract elsewhere. So, I don't know, which is a good thing, right? Because that means the Lakers are going to be very good. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think of Jaxson Hayes? Are you pumped for him? Do you think, like, yeah, he has a ton of potential. He's going to be a real threat this year for the Lakers. Do you think, like, no, like, you know, he'll just kind of be another guy or whatever? And what do you think his, like, stats will be? I'm gonna say he's gonna be, conservatively, I'll say he'll be like an 8 and 6 guy. I think he'll give us about 8 points, 6 rebounds a game. He'll give us about a block, steal, an assist. Right? I think he'll give us around what his stat line was, not last year, but the previous year. What, 2021, 2022 season, where he played basically 20 minutes a game, and he was like a 9 and 5 guy. I think that's around where he's at. I think he's around 8 to 10 points and like 5 to 6 rebounds a game. But anyway, as always, again, love to hear your thoughts, opinions. Let me know.